Hey guys, BuildZoid here, and so a couple weeks ago I posted this score to HWBot, or more like I posted this memory frequency validation to HWBot, and today we're going to be taking a look at the process of getting to almost 6 gigahertz. That's the nicer way to think about it. It's actually like it's 5850 effective speed, so yeah, not quite there yet. But the thing is, I did this all on air cooling, so I'm going to be showing you the process of doing that. It's really like, it's not really that difficult, which is kind of annoying considering that it's in the top 20 for memory frequency right now, which I hate how that works. So yeah, that's me down there. My score used to be 19th, so we might actually improve upon this because I think if I'm lucky, I might be able to take a validation at 2935, which would put me just above Noisemaker over here. Oh, whoa, somebody managed to... Wait, did this guy misread his memory frequency? Yeah, this guy misread his score. Okay, so I'm still 19th. I guess I could move up to 18th. Yeah, he misread the frequency. That's not how that works. He's at 1766. So... Because on HWBot, they don't go by effective speed, they go by real physical clock, right? And this is double data rate. So the effective speed is 35, like for this guy, his effective speed is 33. Yeah. uh, yeah, that's not actually what he's running. Like, for HWBot validation, that's not what he's running. So, currently I'm 19th, not 20th. Okay, so that's good. I feel a bit better about myself because I was like, oh no, I'm sliding off the 20th position. It's just somebody made a mistake with their submission. Although, I do want to further push this, like, I want to eventually push this score even further because, obviously, this was just on air cooling with the stock cooler on the CPU, so... Anyway, let's take a look at how this was done. So here we have the setup. We're of course on the MSI B550 Unify X just because it's the least, like, it's the best suited motherboard for this out of the motherboards I have. Like, one, it's really good at memory overclocking, and two, it's also easier to work with than like the other best memory overclocking motherboard I have. So yeah, that's why we're on the Unify. The CPU is the 4750G, again, because of the great memory controller that those come with. And we are using the DDR4-5100 Crucial Ballistics kit. We are only using one stick, and I have checked both sticks. This is the slightly better one. This one's like 30 megahertz better. So, yeah, we're not gonna, like, the way you figure out which memory stick is best is you take one stick, you max it out, and then you switch to the other stick and see if it can go higher. If it can't go higher, well, then the first stick you used was best. If the second stick you try does go higher, well, that stick's better, right? Like, it's not really it's not really that difficult to figure out which memory stick is best. You just have a goal in mind, and then you go for that goal, and if it doesn't do it, then it's like, well, the previous stick did it or didn't. Like, you get the idea. Anyway, we are using the inner memory slot, which in my experience with AM4 seems to always be the best memory slot. Like, it's always not the... So this motherboard is 1 DIMM per channel. If you're on a daisy chain motherboard and you use the innermost memory slot, it will suck, okay? It will suck massively. Don't do that. But you want to use the inner memory channel. So it's not so much the inner memory slot, it's the inner memory channel. And yeah, and this is 1 DIMM per channel, so that just happens to also be the innermost memory slot at the same time. We are, of course, running single channel just because, well, I honestly don't know that the memory controller couldn't do 2 sticks at crazy frequencies. It's more a issue of, like, the second slot clocks worse. And I don't think it's the memory controller, I think it's just the distance to the second slot that might actually be causing that, or some other thing, because it's really consistent across all motherboards and all CPUs. It's always the first memory channel that works best for me. So, and that's been the case with like my 3700X, 3950X, this 4750G. I think even with the 3600, it's the same. Like, and also every single motherboard. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll put a fan on the memory stick because the sticks, these these crazy Crucial Ballistics 5100 sticks, they use Micron Rev B memory chips, 16 gigabit Rev B memory chips. And the reason why I need to point out that it's 16 gigabit Rev B is because there's also an 8 gigabit Rev B memory chip, and that one sucks. By comparison to the 16 gigabit Rev B, that one tops out at around sort of 3600-ish. Really not that great. The 16 gigabit Rev B, on the other hand, clocks stupid high. Now, you might notice, wait a minute, these are 8 gig DIMMs. How are they using 16 gigabit memory chips? Well, these sticks are very special because Micron actually, so they first bin 16 gigabit Rev B, and you get some chips that are just really, really good. And then to make them even better, you partially disable them so that they can go even faster. And that's what these sticks are, is they use full-size 16 gigabit memory chips that are physically disabled to only have 8 gigabits of capacity. So each stick is a single rank of 8 gigabytes. And hopefully that made some sense to people, because I realized I just threw a bunch of memory terminology, which I said it all in the correct order and it does make sense, but yeah, a lot of those words probably don't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. Anyway, the board's reset, cleared CMOS, so we're going to be starting from scratch here. Let's power it up. And yeah, we'll see what I'm able to do. The thing is, like, once you're getting into these really high frequencies, the actual room temperature kind of affects what's possible. So when I actually made that hardware bot score, I was doing that with like the window open. I was doing it at 6 a.m. I mean, currently it's what, 5 a.m. So honestly, I could open the window and it would be ridiculously cold, but I don't feel like being cold right now. So we're not going to open the window. The room is it's a bit colder than what I'd prefer it to be. But yeah, like at this point, even just the room temperature does have a significant, well, it's not significant. It's like tens of megahertz effect on the maximum frequency. But that's the thing, is like in the future, I would really like to try, like freeze these memory sticks. I'm not sure if I'd be taking them all the way to liquid nitrogen, but I'd certainly be willing to just bury them in dry ice, because that's really low. Well, it's sketchy, but it's really easy to do. It's a low time investment method of freezing your memory sticks. Though as far as I know, Rev B scales all the way to like full pot LN2 temperatures. So ideally, I should actually take it all the way down to like minus. So it's probably worth it to eventually get an LN2 pot for these and see if I can't do. Because I think with dry ice, they might be able to go just past 6 gigahertz. With LN2, they might be able to do like 6.5 or something, which would be awesome. So let's go through the process. Now, the wacky thing about these sticks is that you can basically just enable the XMP profile, and that does most of the difficult work for you. We don't really need to change any of the VRM settings, but I just like changing them just because, yeah, the thing I do. So we're going to max out the switching frequency, which can help with CPU stability a little bit. We're not going to change the temperature. We don't like temperature limits. We don't have to. Mode 4 LLC, enhanced, switching frequency 1000 kilohertz, and enable the OCP expander. Not that that's going to make a difference. We're not going to run any real heavy workloads. We're going to run 1.2 volts on the CPU because we want to keep the CPU relatively cool. We're going to drop it to 3 gigahertz on the core clock because, again, we don't care about performance. We just want the highest possible frequency, so we want to run the CPU relatively cool. And actually, the thing is, I'm going to be raising the BCLK, so we're going to stick to 1.2 volts. For the memory SoC voltage or memory controller voltage, I'm going to go with 1.15 volts. This is, in my experience, the sweet spot for raw frequency across the vast majority of my CPUs, actually. Like, sometimes 1.2 can work a little bit better, but with this CPU, 1.15 is definitely the best. The way you would test for this is you would like start at 1.1, you'd start raising the frequency, and then once you hit a wall, you'd start increasing the SoC voltage until the frequency wall goes away. But since I don't feel like going through we're going to do some of the process, not all of the process. So we're just going to skip to 1.15 because I already know, like, if you're going to be doing a memory frequency attempt like this, you should already know where your CPU's memory controller voltage sweet spot is. So yeah, we don't need to worry about those voltages. DRAM voltage, we're going to actually do this the normal way. We're going to start with 1.5 volts DRAM and auto VTT DDR initially, which normally I wouldn't do that. I'd just skip right ahead to different settings for both of those, but And we're going to try keep this somewhat reasonable. Also, I forgot to max out the fan speed, so that's the next thing we got to do. So 5100 just boots because this is a B550 Unify X, and that's a 4750G, and so this memory controller has absolutely no problem booting 5100 right off the bat. So that just works, which is what you'd expect it to do. And now we're just going to go straight to 5500. You know, if you weren't me, you should probably go one ratio at a time. So 5200, 5300, 5400, 5500. I already know 5500 works just fine. So, yeah, 5500 takes a little while to train, and then it works. Ta-da! So that was nice and easy. And 5500, I think I did a video of 5500, like, basically memtest stable with 2 memory sticks at the same time. So, yeah, 5500 on this board with this CPU really isn't a challenge at all. I'm actually surprised this works at 1.5 volts right now, but anyway, so now we're going to go higher. So we're going to go to 5600. Which I should have maxed out the fan speed. That F9s, which is fine because we're just going to hit the reset button, and with any luck, yeah, it just rolls right through it. So this is one of the sort of requirements for this, at least from my experience with this stick on this board, well, with both of the sticks on this board with this CPU, is that you really need a motherboard that lets you just roll through F9 codes, which some motherboards won't let you do. Like this board, it'll just F9 and you just reset until it trains, or sometimes you just get bored of resetting and go like, okay, you know what, we're giving up on this. So at this point, I'm going to save a profile, so we're going to hit F9. I'm going to save over profile 1. And now we're going to go to 5700, which won't work, but we're going to go there anyway. So that F9's going to reset, and it F9's again, and it F9's again, and again, and again, and again, and now I'm bored, and now I give up. So we're going to power down and clear the CMOS. Clear CMOS, and power up. Hopefully AMD, like, doesn't take forever to release the next generation of the APUs, because the next gen of the APUs is probably going to have a similarly good or even better memory controller, and so it would be really neat if, you know, we could actually buy them instead of having to do what I did, which is I had to buy a pre-built to get the 4750G. Or your other option is to try get one shipped from, like, China if you're in Europe, which I didn't really feel like going through that process. We're going to load our overclocking profile again. So 5600, you know, we're going to just try to boot 5600 again right off the bat. Also, I need to really max out the fan speed. Okay, so that just boots immediately. So that's awesome, and now we're just going to go to the, I think it's the Board Explorer? No, hardware monitor. And then you hit F to force full fan speed. So, yeah, and it's not like the stick gets particularly hot, but seriously, we want the memory stick to be as cold as possible. So if that memory stick is at room temperature, it's going to clock a little bit better than if it's slightly above room temperature, right? So that's why we're maxing out the fan speed. Anyway, so 5600 works right now. So now we're going to, but 5700 ratio doesn't work. But that doesn't mean it's not possible to do 5700 megahertz. It just means the 5700 ratio doesn't work. And that's why it's also super useful to have a motherboard with a proper clock gen. And also not a motherboard without an X570 chipset. Because on the X570 chipset, you can't use the SATA ports and BCLK overclock at the same time because the chipset is stupid. And also if you use an M.2 device, like if you have an M.2 NVMe SSD, and you raise the BCLK, some of them can up and die if you do that. from what I've heard. I don't have any M.2s myself. I've never tested this, but I have heard from some people that if you BCLK overclock, some NVMEs get like corrupted and stop working. So anyway, we're going to try 101 at 5600. See if that works, which I don't expect it to work, but this is RAM overclocking, so, you know, past experiences need not apply. Oh, wait. Now it's just going to work. Man, I love RAM overclocking. So that's 5650. Nice and easy. So now we're going to go to 102. It's going to get us over 5700. Except at F9, so we're going to reset, and then at F9s, we're going to reset, and then at F9s again. And, oh wait, no, that time it worked, damn it. And F9. And it worked now. Lovely. Awesome. So this is actually different from what I have for the HW bot score in terms of like very different in terms of settings. Because for the HW bot score, I was using the 55 memory ratio and a lot of BCLK. But the thing is, the 56 times ratio should eventually stop working, but so far it hasn't done that. So we're just going to keep using it until it stops working. And then at F9s again, that's normal. Yeah, so the main issue with the constant F9ing is that on a lot of boards, they would eventually trigger the recovery mode, or, well, some form of recovery functionality would trigger, and, well, you can't brute force your way into booting these settings because they just keep getting F9'd. So did it work? Okay, so now we're at 5770. Lovely. So this time it's going a lot better. And we're just at 1.5 volts. I can't believe this is working. Oh, man. Anyway, so 104. I guess the sticks really care a lot about the temperature. Because normally, like, if you raise the voltage and your stability gets worse, that means your memory sticks are too hot. Like, we're still at 1.5. Like, that's the actual XMP for this kit, is 5100 at 1.5 volts. And we're doing, what, 5800 at 1.5 volts? Yep. So that's pretty neat. Great. So at this point, I'll actually take it all the way into Windows, because I don't believe we're going to be able to boot 105 BCLK. So we're just going to let Windows fail. There's nothing to wait for. Just going to reset, and hopefully it'll let us boot. And the capture card is being, well, my capture card, so there we go. We're in Windows. So yeah, we're in at 5824 at 1.5 volts. Oh man, these Crucial Ballistics 5100 sticks are just insane. Like, you can basically buy a memory frequency world record with one of these kits. They're totally impractical for day-to-day usage. The performance at these frequencies, like, even, like, on Ryzen, like, because, well, yeah, no, the performance at these frequencies, unfortunately, isn't that great. I mean, the timings are, well, for the frequency we're at, this is actually not bad. Anyway, so now we're going to open up Command Center. Which, I'm not sure that this utility is available to the public, which kind of sucks, but I'll see if I can get MSI to put it at least on, like, the B550 Unify X's, page. So let's try, okay, we're not going to go all the way up to 104.5, we're going to go to 104.25, and it's 2920, so now we're going to go to, hit enter, 2926, so I just beat my personal best, Which, to be fair, I didn't actually upload the highest frequency I ever managed. 2932. I think the next step up is literally just straight 105. So we're going to go straight to 105. And hopefully not die. 2940. Okay, now we're going to try validate this. Man, these are so temperature sensitive. I'm just going to save it to my PC. Did that work? I'm going to save it again. Just in case. So, okay, that's really wacky, because when my original validation, I was doing that at like 1.7 volts. And I think that was actually building up too much heat in the memory sticks now. So, yeah, well. Let's see if we can do 105.2. Oh my god. Wait, there's a shortcut for this. I think it's F7 for validations. Except my desktop is all wait, so... Yeah, okay, so F7 does it. So there we have another validation right there. Let's go up again. Oh my god, it didn't die. F7. And again, just in case. And... Okay, well, that worked. Let's see. No way. Oh my god, it keeps validating. So I was using way too much voltage last time. I wonder if we can loosen out the timings further. That would be really epic. Like, because the main issue is, like, if I raise the voltage, it's going to get worse. Because I know it gets worse, because that's what happened last time. Oh, man. I didn't think I'd end up, like, completely wiping the floor with my old score. Because that's what I'm doing right now. At less voltage. Yeah, so this is why, you know, it's like, more volts does not always fix all your issues. Because sometimes the the heat buildup is a bigger problem than the temperature. I mean, than the voltage. So, yeah, it just keeps going up. This is ridiculous. 6 gigahertz on air, maybe? We're almost there. Like, we're... Oh, and it died. Okay, wait, we need to... Like, at this point, I am convinced this can do 6 gigahertz. Maybe if I could lower the voltage even further and, like, raise the timings. Like, we need less voltage and more looser. So, 22, 30, 30, 30... Because I'm not sure that we're timing limited, but, like, I'm hoping we're not... Because we could just be temperature limited, in which case, you know, like... I don't know. My best option would be to take the whole setup outside right now, because what temperature is it here? Yeah, it's raining and it's 2 degrees outside. Well, that's the UK for you. It's not that cold. It's supposed to be -2 tomorrow night. And it won't be raining. Oh, there's an idea. I might take these outside tomorrow. Like at 4 a.m. or something. That's a really dumb idea. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to capture that on video just because of how I have my recording set up. But honestly, that seems like I have a chance of making this, like, because evidently it's insanely temperature sensitive. Which I knew from the get-go, but, like, oh my god. So... Yeah, there's a chance this might go even higher if I just get it like instead of trying to hit room temperature on the memory stick, which room temperature right now is a little over 20 degrees probably, if instead the memory stick was at like, well, say 3 degrees or 0, right? We could maybe do a bit more. I'm going to try less VTT DDR because generally with Micron memory ICs that tends to help a little bit. Wait, I said TCKE to 20. That's not what I wanted to set to 20. I wanted to set TCWL to 20. Set the wrong timing. There we go. F9, we just reset through that. Yeah, I need to take this outside. Like, I totally need to take this whole setup outside and just hope that the cold air is enough. It should be. Like, maybe even run less VPP voltage to, like, try further reduce the power consumption of the memory stick. I don't think the board lets you lower the VPP voltage, though, now that I think of it. And the capture card is being, well, extremely... Oh, did I break the operating system? No. Or maybe it just crashed. Hopefully it just crashed. If I broke that operating system, it will be such a pain to get those validations off of it. Like, it's not impossible. You just need to plug it into another system and then rip them off of the SSD directly, but it's annoying to do it that way. I think the OS is gone. Oh no, it's not gone. Yay! Okay, we're in. There's an argument to be made for booting at a higher BCLK just so that the motherboard trains at a higher frequency. So, like, the memory controller trains at a higher frequency, but we're going to go straight to 106, which should work. Okay. What was the last thing I saved? Because I can't remember what was the 165. Come on. F7. Oh, it died. Yeah, no, we need to get this colder. Like, I need to get this white colder. Because it's not, I don't think it's timing limited. I think it's literally just temperature. Maybe we should, I'll try drop the voltage. I'll try minimize all the memory stick voltages and hope for the best, but I doubt it'll help at this point. So we're gonna, because the thing is, like, the thing is Rev B does also just scale with voltage itself a little bit. Maybe at 1.4, we're gonna try 1.45 and VPP minimum. Okay, we're gonna set, so VPP is normally supposed to be 2.5 volts. We're gonna try 2. Which I don't think is gonna make a huge difference to the power draw, but maybe a little bit. So now I should, maybe 106.5. Okay, F9. Because VPP is a supporting rail. Like, it pulls even less power than VDDR, so fiddling with that one, you know, is going to make less of a difference to the temperature sensitive, like, is going to make less of a difference to the operating temperature of the memory sticks than fiddling with VDDR, but, you know, I'm hoping every little helps here. I'm not going to let Windows go into recovery, that's why I reset it. I really need to take this outside. Because I'm, like, if it literally just 10 degrees colder, I'm sure I could do 6 gigahertz. Also, I should really make a command center shortcut. I wish this software wasn't so janky. Like, technically they have, like, an auto BCLK walk function, but the problem is, like, timing the validation screenshots is going to be hard. So where's CPU Z at? Oh, I am on the latest version. Good. If I wasn't on the latest version, that would be an issue. And then the USB drivers decided to stop working for a little bit there. That's really annoying. And we're going to go straight to 106 again. Okay. So yeah, like, I have this auto BCLK function up here where it would raise the BCLK every, like, 5 seconds or something, so I can just hit F7. Which actually, now that I say that, you know what? We're going to do that. 0.25. And then it died. Yeah, no, I think it's too warm. or maybe the lower VPP is actually a problem now. Maybe the memory voltage is too low. So let's try raise it. I'll try 1.55 volts this time. But I really think, like, this is thermally limited. But I like, if I take it outside, like, it's gotta go faster. Oh wait, I need a monitor as well. And power. Oh man, that's gonna be such a pain to... Do I have a spare... Oh, I do have a spare table that I can put outside. Okay, yeah, I'm doing that. I'm totally doing that. F9, yeah. Now, the main concern with that VPP voltage that I lowered is if you set it lower than your DRAM voltage, it's going to break your memory sticks. Or at least that's what's supposed to happen according to literally all the DDR4 memory chip documentation I've ever read. Like, VPP being lower than VDDR, very, very, very bad. So don't just set it as low as your motherboard allows, or you're going to probably crater your memory sticks. I've not tested that myself. I'm literally just going off of what the documentation says, but I don't see a reason for the manufacturers to lie about what happens when you set the VPP too low. And man, the USB seems to be getting really flaky. The VCLK probably isn't helping that. Okay, we're gonna go straight to 106. This time I'm gonna like mess around with stuff less, hopefully. 106.5. Okay. 106.7. That apply? I can't tell. Well, anyway, we're gonna F7 that. Okay, it seems to be scaling a little bit now. 107. Oh, please don't. No. Oh, it's still no. Wait, I think. And then the Windows died. 6 gig is doable. It's definitely doable. Little bit more voltage. Just a smidge. Gonna try a bit more voltage, because, like, you know, the 50 millivolts gave us, what, 10 megahertz? Something like that? Yeah, 1.6 and 0 degrees ambient, I think, is gonna be the magic for going over 6. Which is still, like, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. I'll have, like, if I do... Actually, you know what? Yeah, definitely. I'll take the system outside and I'll take pictures of the setup. Do I have a spare power strip? I should. That's going to be a bit of a... Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, I definitely have a spare power strip, so that's fine. Okay, let's try 1.6. Like, being able to validate 6 gig on literally all air cooling. That would be awesome. I've not been this excited about, like, overclocking something since, like, trying to do 8 gig on FX. Like, as dumb as these sort of validation runs are, because basically you just sit there doing the same thing, like, you know, bashing your head against the wall until something works. They are fun. Like, I really enjoy this, as dumb as it might look. But, yeah, I'm having a great time right now. Honestly, I kind of want to turn the video, like, shut down the video, go outside, check if it's raining right now, and start, like, setting up to see if I can't do this now. So if this doesn't break 6 gig, then I'm gonna call it a day, because, I mean, we could keep trying to raise the memory voltage, but I don't think it'll get me anywhere, because, yeah, we'll see. And I'll keep it with the current settings and literally just take it outside. Don't change anything, because evidently I've done something correctly this time around that I didn't do the last time. And it's like, okay, so something is just right now. So I really don't want to change it. Apply. Okay, 2969. Now we're going to go to 107. And dead. Yeah, no. That was even worse. Like, we didn't even get, like, a bit of, like, glitchy action going on for a little bit. It just up and died. So I think now it's like if we can try add 1.65 volts and see if it gets worse, but I fully expect it to just get worse at this point. Set. Because my original validation is at 1.7. Which is, looking back now, that was definitely way too much. Way too much voltage. No. Oh, it doesn't even want to train at 1.65. Yeah, it seems now it's really upset. Damn it, I didn't save a profile. I'm a moron. I'm a proper freaking moron. Idiot. Imbecile. Yep. There. Okay, well, I've just screwed up. So, well, at least I have this video as evidence of the settings that I was running. So, anyway, yeah, so I just, like, what? Man, I don't want to clear... well, I have to. Like, at this point, I have to. It's just stuck on F9. Imagine if AMD motherboards could have a proper safe boot button. Like, I do realize that some Asus ROG boards have a safe boot button, but from what I've heard from people who have those boards, the safe boot button is kind of unreliable as far as actually functioning goes. So, yeah. I think I saved a 2980. I think that's the highest one I saved. So where does that put me? Doesn't really... yeah, that doesn't really move me too far up the rankings. Anyway, so yeah, Crucial. We're just gonna power this down because I want to put the box on top of the fan, and it's gonna be upset about that. Crucial makes some crazy memory, like absolutely crazy memory. This stuff, like, admittedly, like to get these kinds of results, you need to pair it with, you know, an exceptionally good CPU. Well, actually, I'm not sure that my 4750G is like exceptional. There's not really much information on like memory controller quality with these APUs because not many people have them because AMD didn't like the thing is these APUs don't make sense as a desktop CPU at all. They don't really have any L3 cache. They have the same core architecture as a Zen 2 CPU, so they're not really per clock. They're not really any faster. You know, so they're cool for like, you know, memory frequency validations, and they're fun for like iGPU overclocking, but even there it's like any cheap discrete GPU is going to wipe the floor with an iGPU, even if you can run some crazy memory settings. Like it doesn't matter. Like GDDR5 is just way better than DDR4 is for bandwidth. But yeah, like, you know, right motherboard, right CPU, and one of these kits, and like, the thing is, I'm not even doing anything that special, right? Like, all I'm doing is just methodically like, adjusting the voltages. Yeah, I like, literally everything I did you could copy. Except, like, well, MSI Command Center is really well, I am admittedly on, like, an extreme overclocking, like, a special extreme overclocking BIOS. But I think in the future, I'm going to check if it's possible to replicate something similar to what I just did on a retail BIOS with this board. I've just kind of like, this BIOS has been working relatively okay for me, so I've been kind of not interested in moving away from it because my policy on BIOS updates is the only reason to update the BIOS is if something is broken. Right? If something isn't working the way it's supposed to, you should update to a BIOS that might have a chance of fixing whatever is broken. Because a lot of the time you update the BIOS and things only get worse. They don't get better. So if you're not having issues, don't update. And so I've been sitting on this OC BIOS that I have for a while now. And this it's not available to the public. But, and this is one of the things that I've always found super annoying with extreme overclocking is like non-public BIOSes, non-public overclocking tools, non-public motherboards. But so I do want to test, like I am going to try replicate this on a retail BIOS because, yeah, if the retail BIOS doesn't do this, then it's like, well, it's like, it's awesome for me that I get to do a frequency like this, but it's like, well, it's not possible for the general public to replicate, then it's kind of pointless. But the good news is, at least the memory kit is retail. Like, you can literally just buy these. They are extremely expensive. And from a performance perspective, they don't really make any sense because they're single rank. You know, like, admittedly, you can, they're single rank, they're Rev B, and Rev B is better than Rev E in terms of timings, but it's still not, like, it doesn't compete with Samsung B die, right? But when it comes to raw frequency, this is the FX 9590 of CPU of RAM. Except unlike the FX 9590, it's also like the performance on these is actually quite good. It's not so like that because I feel bad comparing this to an FX 9590 because it's just like, well, that's the only CPU I can think of where like, well, and the funny thing is the FX 9590 doesn't even have the world record for memory for CPU frequency. It actually, there's like some super crazy binned FX 8350 that did that, but anyway, this is kind of the FX CPU of RAM, except unlike actual FX CPUs, this actually performs quite well, right? Like this doesn't have like because FX chips were just slow. Like yeah, they clocked really high, but they weren't worth you. Like you wouldn't actually want to use one of them. Whereas Micron Rev V is a perfectly good memory chip in terms of performance. It just doesn't quite rival, Samsung B die, which is honestly an anomaly in terms of how incredibly low you can get all of the timings. At the cost of it doesn't clock very high because no memory controller can handle it. So, yeah, these crucial sticks are just like if you're into RAM overclocking, I don't think there's a more like they are 100 unit limited edition, so quite literally there's not a more unique and like exceptional kit of memory, I guess, because there's like a lot of very good B die, but it's not as rare, I feel like, as something like this here. So yeah. Also, with B die, you don't really have a super hard bin like this. Like as from what I've heard from some of the people that actually worked on the development of some of these kits, these are really consistent. Like a lot of them do, around 5900 on air cooling, assuming you have a CPU and motherboard capable of that. So, whereas with a lot of B die, it's just like the quality is all over the place. Even if you buy some of the really high bins, it's still kind of all over the place. Whereas this is apparently super consistent. So, yeah, there. Like it's a crazy memory kit that doesn't make any sense, but man, am I glad that I got to play. Like, I am so glad that I have a chance to play with one of these kits because it does almost 6 gig on air at ambient, like room temperature air. Like, oh my god. And you really don't have to be some wizard of memory overclocking. You just like I didn't do anything. It honestly doesn't feel like I deserve this like kind of doesn't feel like I deserve this validation because it's like I'd say most of the work was done by the motherboard, CPU, and memory kit than me. All I did was fiddle with a couple voltages a little bit, and that didn't, as you saw, that didn't really make much of a difference. So yeah, anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. And if you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking, I have a Patreon. There's a link to that down in the description. There's also the HOC Teespring store where you can pick up shirts, stickers, posters, the usual YouTuber merch. Both of those help out immensely with running the channel because that's how I acquired the 4750G. So yeah, that's much appreciated. And, one last thank you to Crucial and MSI for the memory kit and the motherboard, because I don't believe I'd be able to do this without them. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.